Okay, so come to the next problem. So this problem, so let us first draw the diagram and then we'll go for the problem. So let us copy this one and then we'll, so just diagram, make the diagram and then we'll discuss the problem. So this is given find distance r1 plus r2. So show everything. So this is really a revolution. If I use this kind of black and white combination, really this is a marvelous. It increases the beauty of the video, you know. The same thing, if you love something to do, what happens? Automatically the things improve. Doing with love is the important thing in life. If you do something with love, you does not care about the improvement. Improvement happens yourself. Improvement happens itself. And that is the beauty of life. If you want to do something, you will be always be forced. You will not relaxed. But if you are doing something out of relaxation, oh my God, that is really beautiful. Because in relaxation, you are not worried about the result. But when are you worried about the result, one part of your energy goes into the worrying. But when you are relaxed, you are not worrying about what is the result will happen. In that case, you are more free, and freedom always gives good result. Okay, let us come to the point. So, how many of you have written this one? I think most of you have written this one, no? Okay, let me do the read the question. Meanwhile, you can also write. Keep writing. So this is a double star is a system of two stars moving around the center of mass of the system due to gravitation. So now let us say this is describing something called double star system. So let us say I have a mass m1, I have another mass m2, and center of mass is somewhere here. So this is the center of mass of system. I can always find, if I know the mass, I can find the center of mass if I know the distance also. So this is moving. So these two stars only have a force due to gravitation. So this will have a force this side due to gravitation. This will have a force this side due to the gravitation. Now due to the gravitation, the question says they move in a circular orbit. There is no external force. So they will move in a circular orbit. So this means if this mass from here to goes here at m2, now there is no force, so center of mass has to remain constant. Center of mass has to remain on the same point. This means this mass has to come from here to here with the same theta. If this goes with theta, this also has to go with theta. Are you getting or not? Now in the next time, if this mass goes from here to here, that is trying to satisfy a circular orbit, this mass has to go from here to here. Are you getting or not? So this means now this mass is moving in this circular orbit, so it will complete a circular orbit something like this. So if it completed a circular orbit something like this, are you getting or not? Now, so what we have this is moving, so this will complete this circle. So now you got the point. If this mass, the m2 is moving in this circle in this way, so this mass is also moving in this circle. Are you getting or not? So now I can plot this something like this. So m2 is moving in this circle and m1 is also moving in this circle. Let us say radius of m2 is r2, so this radius is r2 from center of mass, and this radius is r1. from center of mass. Are you getting or not? So the question is asking what will be the sum of the distances r1 plus r2, that is what is the distance between these two masses. This distance will remain constant at any point of time. So this distance, what is this distance r1 plus r2? You have been given total mass of the system is capital M, that is m1 plus m2 is capital M. You have been also given time period of revolution is t. Now see, the time period of revolution will be same for both. If this completes one circle, this also has to complete one circle. Are you getting or not? This also has to complete one circle. So this means time period for both the same. You see here itself. If this goes by theta angle, this also goes by theta angle. So if this completes one circle, this also completes one circle. So time period for both will be the same. Let's just say this time period is capital T. So what we have to find is, so this time period is capital T. So now the question says, so let me read the question. Find the distance between two components. So you have to find the distance r1 plus r2. So you solve yourself. Now I will give you some hints. First hint is, you write down the equation of circular motion. That is force towards the center is equals to mass into acceleration. And then from there you find the time period t, 2 pi r by v. And then you do addition, you will get the result. So what is the hint? Hint is, you write down the circular motion for both masses m1, m2. From there find v1, v2. And then write down expression for t, that is t is 2 pi r1 by v1. Another t is 2 pi r2 by v2. You will get the answer. So let me wait for some time. Okay, now let us come to the solution. So let me discuss the solution. So you have, so for circular motion, if you start writing circular motion for m1, you will write forces on m1 is g m1 m2 by r1. So this is the force on m1, that is the force is g m1 m2 by r1 plus. So what is the force? Force will depend upon the total distance. That is important point. So if you see the force, so force is m1 m2 by r square. R is the total distance, r1 plus r2. So force is r1 plus r2 whole square, mass into acceleration m1 v1 square by r. Similarly, so you can cancel m1, so you will have gm2 by r1 plus r2 whole square v1 square by r1. Similarly, you can write for m2, here you will have m1 and here you will have v2. So this is the expression for v1 and v2. Now the time period for both is same, so you find time period t1. So t1 is basically t. So here you have time period for t1. Both time period is same. So t is 2 pi r by 1 v1. And t2, that will be t pi r2 by v2. So you see here, so this is t pi r by v1 time period. For the second t is equals to 2 pi r by v2. And both t1 is equals to t2 is equals to capital T. Now basically I don't need this result. You can see here, if you see this time period t is equals to this time period, so r1 by v1 is equals to r2 by v2. So both time period has to be equal, so I will get a extra result, that is r1 by v1 is equals to r2 by v2. I does not need this result, so let us cancel this one. So I have, so let us come to the point, t is 2 pi r by v1 and v1 is I can write 2 pi r by r1 by t. Similarly, I can write v2 is equals to 2 pi r2 by t. So v1 is 2 pi r1 by t, v2 is 2 pi r2 by t. So let us copy this one if you have not copied. So what is my target? My target is to find out the V1 and V2. So now we have V1 for expression for V1, we have expression for V2. Are you getting or not? So these are the two expression V1 and V2. Now you see, what we can do is, if I add these two equations, so I have equation number 1 and equation number 2. If I add, I will have Zm2, Zm1 and R1 plus R2 the square, that is common. So if I add these quantities, why I am adding, you will just see why I am doing all this. So if I add, so I will have M1 plus M2 on the top. So you see here. So if you take Z M1, Z M2 and M, so this equation and this equation, Z by R1 plus R2 whole square is common. Here you will have M1, here you will have M2, and M1 plus M2 is capital M. So I can write as Zm by R1 plus R2 whole square. This will be V1 square by R. So here you have V1 square by R1, here you have V2 square by R2. V1 square by R1, V2 square by R2. Now we have already derived V1 is 2 pi by TR1 and V2 is 2 pi R2 by T2. So V1 square will be simply 2 pi R1. So you see, divided by V1, and this is a square. So 1 R1 a square, basically 1 R1 square. So this will be 2 pi by T square. So 2 pi square T square R1 square, and 1 R1 will cancel out. So you will have simply R1 on the top. You're getting or not? So this is 2 pi square by T square R1 square, and R1 square in the bottom also. So 1 R1 square and R1 cancels out. So you will have R1 here. Similarly, we will have 2 pi square R2 by T2 square T square. Now if you take common T square and 2 pi square, so this goes this side. So I can put this side T square by 2 pi square. Now R1 plus R2, and R1 plus R2 this side, and I have R1 plus R2 whole square this side. So finally it will be R1 plus R2 whole cube, and I want to find what is the R1 plus R2. So this will be 1/3 root of this one. You're getting or not? So this is a quite interesting problem. You see, you can do this one. So let us write, if you have not written something. So this goes here, and then this goes here. So you write yourself if you have not written. So what we have learned, this is a concept of double star system. So only the important point is, if there is no external force, only the forces of gravitation is acting. If only the gravitation forces is acting, it will do. If you have 2 particles, it will move in a circular orbit. Even if you have 3 particles, again it will move in a circular orbit. If you have 4 particles, that will also move in a circular orbit, because all the forces, if you take the resultant forces will be directed along the center. Are you getting that? So if you have 3 particles moving, then in that case, you have to take the resultant forces, all the resultant forces along the center. And again, you can show this will move along a circular orbit. If you have 4 particles, they will also move along the circular orbit. So this is in these cases, center of mass remains rest, because there is no external force that is acting. Okay, we'll discuss the next problem.